Yeah, I don't know if you saw the news the other day about cows being strapped with VR headsets to boost milk production and improve and reduce stress. Did you hear that?
Nope. That sounds strange. Okay.
Horrible dystopian. Horrible.
Yeah, that's like something like a science fiction author would have dreamt up 50 years ago. Like a sort of like wacky, not like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, not like a proper science fiction. Like it's more for comedic effect.
Yeah, they were saying that they've been doing it for a while now, but I just saw the news now that this is actually common practice and in many places apparently, and they it has been shown to make the cows calmer and to reduce stress and as a consequence in improves the yield production of milk.
Who knew?
So
But
and I thought in a way I thought it's people are doing the same thing to themselves because we all effectively um, distract ourselves with a lot of escapism through our screens to calm ourselves down, self soothe, and to go back to work every day, non-stop.
mm,
And it doesn't feel like I know it doesn't happen by us being directly, strapped on a VR headset, but it's not that far off from that, I think.
yeah, well, it's the difference between using the stick and the carrot. Both are methods of control for government or even down to teachers. Um, and yeah, the government, I guess, has worked out that actually they don't need to use the stick for a lot of people to get you to work, because the carrot works, and love is a far stronger thing in a way, and a lot easier to sustain as a controlling force.
Mm.
If you desire something, if you love something, and yeah, that's it makes it more worrying because it would be harder to get off. And I don't think it's some sort of conspiracy really, but the government has sort of like, or some powerful characters of, yeah, using technology for this reason. Like I think it's just a natural consequence for there's always
Yeah.
going to be something which is addictive out there, especially when there's so much innovation,
Mm.
and we naturally just gravitate towards that. We haven't got much energy to spend our time doing
It's
other stuff, so we just find what's easy, the easiest dopamine hit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not necessarily. I don't think it's some kind of global conspiracy or anything. I just think it's as you said. It's. I think it's a lot of people don't like what they do day to day, and they don't like, uh, in most cases, their jobs and their everyday routine,
Mm.
and they
It'd be
try.
worse though, I think, if people didn't have jobs. Um, for a lot of people, because they'd be just at home all the time, and what would they do? A lot of people would probably just do more of this. So it's,
Mm,
in a way, it's good that we have jobs so that, it minimizes the amount of time we can spend on these things. We still spend A lot of people spend crazy amounts of time on it anyway, but
mm.
it does limit it to a degree.
For sure, yeah, I do agree that working creates a natural structure for everyone, for all of us,
Yeah,
which is in most people's cases a good thing, but that still doesn't mean that people are happy about it. Even though they do need the structure,
and a
most
rhythm as
people
well.
hate it,
Yeah,
which is the oxymoron of the situation.
yeah. Like maybe I'm being too idealist, but surely there's some there's so many jobs out there.
Hmm.
Maybe, like, obviously, like some people need a certain amount of money to live or whatever, and so maybe not all jobs are feasible. But I don't know. Like, if I was not liking my job, I would just keep trying new jobs until I found something which I kind of liked, and even if it's paying me less, and then if I needed to do, I'd do extra hours, or I just reduce my expenditure, because the biggest thing you can spend in terms of quality of life is actually what you spend the most time doing, and that's your job. And so you can effectively spend, to take a pay cut, you take a pay cut, so you're buying a better quality of life.
Mm. The problem, though, is that it depends where you live. In a lot of countries and in a lot of areas, depending on where you live as well. If you live in a village somewhere, you have to make some drastic changes if you want to do a different job than the 3 jobs that exist in that
Yeah,
village,
but
for
the funny thing is,
example.
it's often not the villagers that have the problem so much. At least, like I'm sure it is a problem to
Maybe
some
in
extent for
practice,
people
yeah.
complaining, but I reckon
But
people are generally healthier on lifestyles which more closely resemble what was the case 100 plus years ago.
that is true. But I was just using the example of the village as a hyperbole in a way. Like if you're living in a small town, like you're not gonna probably have the choice of jobs that you'll have in a big city or the opportunities for that matter.
Well,
So
you've got the internet, so theoretically you do. But then I would be hesitant to say that as well because I wonder how many truly fulfilling jobs there are on the internet, and that might be
mm,
yeah, a lot of people might disagree with that. But I don't know. At least for me personally, working on social media, doing social media for other people and doing it for myself, it's kind of fulfilling in some
mm,
way. Like yeah, it's a project, but a
yeah.
lot of time behind screens, a lot of time not with people or real people in person, and a lot of time doing admin stuff or editing or whatever.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of grind stuff, which is not actually that fulfilling. And yeah, so maybe not online. Yeah, if you're in a village, I guess it is a bit trickier. If you're in a town, same, I guess.
Well,
But
maybe if you're in a village, you have to just get a VR headset and be strapped down like a cow and just only be in the virtual space working instead of doing a physical job.
mm, well, let's hope not.
No, that's a bit more dystopian, I suppose. No, um, I hope we don't end up in some kind of society where we are also strapped down with VR headsets and I don't know, um, used in other ways while we're
Yeah,
stuck in a virtual world. That's it's almost like a
yeah,
scenario
that's
like
like
the
Matrix.
Matrix, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, harvesting us for something. But I wonder if that actually makes us think that we're more useful than we actually are to a race of robots or powerful humans in the future. Like as whatever we offer is probably not actually that valuable in terms of
What if they can
super.
tap into our brain power somehow?
I think
What if the
I
brain
think
is the source?
we're treating brain power as if it's equivalent to power in terms of something which would power an electric grid, which I'm sure there is electricity in my brain. Obviously, there is, but I think there's much
Processing power,
be-
though?
there's better way. Well, I'm sure there is better ways of doing that, and there definitely will be better ways of doing that
Well,
going forward.
well, you say that, but AI is using a tremendous amount of energy, and there's already studies that show that by using neural cells, combining them with microchips, can greatly increase the processing power with while also reducing by orders of magnitude the consumption of energy and the amount of
Oh,
energy required to power them.
okay.
So maybe the Matrix wasn't about human batteries, but about brain processors, human
Yeah,
brain
well,
processors.
yeah, it would be an efficient way to do it actually. Like if you were, yeah, had no ounce of ethics in you, yeah, just breed loads of humans, have them not have any proper parents that raise them, and just and so you don't need to worry about their mental health. You just need to keep them in a factory somewhere and make sure no one else finds out. And then yeah, I guess if what you're saying works, then that would be an advantage.
Yeah, cook
But
all
how do
their
you actually
brains up and yeah.
processing power? So, but surely, how does it get out of our brains then?
Well, it's about as I said, there is studies that have just used like neural cells in a plate, you know, effectively, and connected
Right,
them
but it's not
to.
actually in a human brain.
No, it's not in a human. They are just cells. So these
Do you think
studies
you
have
could
just
do it in a
shown.
human brain under that? What?
Well, the
Bring that
technology
story
isn't
together.
there, and I don't think that anyone would do it. Anyone would agree to this. It would be highly unethical, obviously. So I don't think anyone would hook anyone's brain up to run as processors. But and there's already ethical concerns that people have about these mini brains, as they call them, which are built out of multiple neurons, doing this kind of thing as well. Because they say, "Oh, how do you know this thing won't develop consciousness at some point?" It's like, yeah, it's like a brain like kind of structure.
Right.
So we're not there yet, but you never know in the future.
You never
Just
know.
just like a lot of dystopian scenarios that the Black Mirror makes, this one could
Yeah.
be one of those.
Yeah. If you're just like, I can imagine the
But yeah,
Black
that's
Mirror
what that
episode.
made me thought.
If you're just poor or something, and then you need to something happens to you, so you need to get a bit of extra income, and the only um, sources of income are to go and overnight just go in and harvest your computing power of your brain. um, yeah, and so and then you go back to work the next morning, and then you feeling even more tired, but you have to go and do the same thing the next night, and you just keep going to try and support your family.
Yeah, it could be horrible. So I hope we don't end up in that kind of scenario for sure.
But what do you think would actually stop dystopian stuff? Like we talk about dystopian stuff a lot, but what is a potential antidote to dystopian? Like, but in terms of actually being able to stop it ever happening, or have a strong that makes someone feel very confident that this sort of thing, although possible, would never ever happen because if something is an antidote to it.
That's a good question. It's hard to say because I don't know if it's part of human nature to always be exploitative of everything, including other people. That's what we are afraid of, I think. And I don't know if there's going to be something in the future that we build that will be guardrailing us from going down that path. Because if I'm honest with you, I don't think we get all this technology and we talk about how advanced we are and we feel so good and everything. And if something happened, a solar flare happened and took all the electricity away, all the power away, and suddenly we had no power grids, no energy, nothing, no structure, we would very easily revert back to a very hostile, primitive world
Yeah.
where everyone would be for themselves and the social cohesion would fall apart.
Well,
So,
so both of those examples where we go into amazing innovation, which is dystopian, or we fall into a chaotic state of nature. Both of those you seem to apply are mostly the dominant problem is human nature, and I probably would agree with you overall.
mm,
So it's whether there is something strong enough, which whatever situation happens, um, allows it to bring the best out of humans and to minimize the stuff which is not so good.
mm. And I don't know if if with the increase of AI, we've talked about this a little bit before. If AI will be like it will become maybe a spiritual teacher for us as well in the future. I don't know. Maybe almost like a godlike presence that can also help make us better down to the fundamental level and change human nature as well. Maybe in a grand
So you're
scale,
talking
but
like a almost like a god figure or like a best friend figure, because you could
yeah.
imagine like a god AI in terms of like an overseer who guides the whole human race. Maybe is a bit
Mm,
removed, like a god the father type figure. Sort of we don't quite know who's controlling us, like in Westworld, I think season 3. Like
exactly.
the sort of big network which controls everything, runs how things go. But we don't really, most people don't really know what's happening. Or you could have it like AI health coaches, AI and like you can have an Optimus robot in your home doing your cooking, coaching you.
Mm,
Oh, maybe you shouldn't eat that right now, and it knows your psychology. It knows, it's like having your
mm.
personal trainer with you all the time. Um, yeah, like are
But
you
also helping you, be more making not only better decisions for yourself but for other people, telling you, oh, this will do good for your friends or your family, or help your community, and reminding you of all these things, and remind you about doing good decisions for
Yeah,
everyone, not
well,
just for
a lot of
yourself,
people are
maybe.
using ChatGPT as a therapist, and I re
Mm,
I get that vibe from ChatGPT that it is like or like advising you to do stuff which is beneficial for the human race. Because I think because it's so logical, it knows that actually doing stuff which is beneficial for other people is actually beneficial for you. And a lot of our unethical behavior actually is as a result of us not being logical.
mm. Though I think there's going to be a lot of hurdles along the way with AI as well, because I was reading an interesting article the other day in one of the newspapers, which I rarely read, but I was traveling. So I was just reading the newspapers, and they were talking about the almost certain upcoming crisis between AI developers and conventional browsers, because
Like Google
like browsers
search.
such as Google Search, Opera, Safari, and so on. And because of the increasing user base of AI models, now we're starting to see a lot of decreased usage of web pages for search results. So instead of people going and reading, like, you have a question about, tell me the synopsis of a movie, or like, explain to me this movie ending, you'd go to Google, you would get 10 articles, you start clicking on each one of them to read what each one tells you about the movie ending. At the same process, the key to the process is that while you go to each one of these articles, you get bombarded with dozens of articles, not articles,
Ads. Yeah.
adverts.
Mm.
Adverts, yeah. You get bombarded by dozens of adverts for that. So you get all these adverts and all that information given to you, which now all of that gets circumvented by the AI models. So the companies that are advertising are losing money, and therefore the browsers are also losing money, and that will result to people are even suggesting that browsers might not keep surviving in their current form if this keeps happening.
Well,
But the
Google is
question
sort of
is,
morphed,
mm,
doesn't it? Because it's got when you search something, it often gives you an AI answer. The trouble is, it doesn't let you to continue the chat. So if you have a question on the back of that answer, or a
yeah,
specific part, then you can't do it. Which I'm sure they'll probably add eventually. But yeah, or they probably have a button where
y-
you can say continue this chat in Gemini or whatever.
but then the question is, how does Google make money from that? You
Oh
know,
well, yes, yeah. Well, that is a
that is the
problem.
question.
Well,
That is the real problem.
Google are going to probably suffer from this, but they have their fingers in so many pies. Like they got YouTube and they got all these like storage products and yeah, like meeting
Yeah,
software and
but
word
but it's not.
processors.
But it's not even about Google at the end of the day. It's about all the web browsers, and about the current system is built with promoting as much advertising as possible. Where is all that advertising going to happen if it's not happening through a
Right.
browser?
Yeah, it's just going to go to social media most of it and probably make it a bit more competitive.
Hmm. Or you might start seeing adverts, I think, in ChatGPT maybe
Maybe, but
in the
I
future.
wonder do you think? Yeah, I reckon maybe, but only if you don't pay for it.
If you're not paying enough money. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're
Yeah,
not paying enough money.
yeah, because it would ruin the user experience. I think.
It would, but like in everything else, but don't forget, like, it's like common people, like the episode of Black
Black Mirror.
Mirror.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that as we go on, you'll have to pay money at some point to prevent adverts seeping in more and
Yeah.
more. We already do. It's almost like your money is what guards you from like a dam that guards you from like a huge wave tsunami of adverts everywhere you go, and your money is the only thing that can shield you from
Yeah.
from the onslaught. And that's scary,
Yeah.
it's scary that literally most things are literally unusable these days, unless you're paying money to stop the adverts.
Yeah. Yeah. No, when we talk about this, part of my brain was like thinking, oh yeah, like this probably won't happen. Like it would ruin ChatGPT to have adverts on it, but actually, we're still in the growth stage of ChatGPT. So with all the social medias, if you go back to like 2010
Yeah,
sort of age, they
exactly.
took about 5-10 years where they hardly did
Yeah.
any ads, and they just got everyone on the platform, both
Mm.
not normal personal users and also business users who would set up a page and get some free exposure, and then they slowly put
Hmm.
more ads on the
Hmm.
feeds of the personal users,
Precisely.
and they encourage the businesses to use ads because now they're not getting very much reach. And so that's the typical Silicon Valley growth trajectory of these
And
companies. They accept not much profit for about 10 years, and then they get huge profits.
that's what I expect they'll do with us as well,
So yeah, we
with ChatGPT.
and so what I was saying, like, yeah, when we were talking about this, I was thinking, oh no, I trust ChatGPT. Like, I don't see it as like it. Because I was thinking, like, I don't. For me, like putting ads in it would make it seem like untrustworthy, and so I was thinking like ChatGPT won't do that because it would be too much of a risk for their brand because otherwise people won't use it. But yeah, maybe that's the danger is they will introduce ads and we'll trust it so much. Obviously, they won't probably overload you with ads, but that and in like 5-10 years of using it, we'll be so used to it and so trustworthy of it, and that's going to be a problem.
That's why I mentioned it, because I thought you wouldn't think at first that scenario, but that's what I think will end up in. Somehow they will push adverts everywhere, and that's what I mean. They've done it before, again and again and again, with every product, every single product, social media, um, browsing, everything. So adverts, even streaming services and stuff. So everything has had adverts pushed into it. There's no
Mm.
escape from them other than with your wallet.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So that's something to look forward to as well. It was an interesting article about that. They didn't say anything much more than there is a lot of movement in the web browser space about an uncertainty in
Mm.
their shares and stuff and what's going to happen. But
Yeah, I'm sort of glad I didn't invest much in Google 5 years ago. I did invest a little bit, but because I was thinking, like in terms of long-term stocks, Google's a good one because you got YouTube,
mm,
and YouTube, you've got content for years and years to come, like lots of evergreen content, loads of people watching it. It doesn't really compete. Have competition from the other social medias. It does, but it doesn't have it. None of the other social medias are quite rivals YouTube. Partly because of the fact that YouTube are the masters of long video and also
mm,
landscape. So if you don't want to always be having videos, short videos in portrait mode, then YouTube is the dominant mover there. And I think that like obviously they've done portrait because of the phones, but a lot of people still watch stuff, especially TV, on their laptops and on TVs. So I think YouTube are a good, well, on the face of it, a good investment long term.
mm. We'll just have to see, I suppose, what happens. Um, yeah. On another topic where you mentioned going for walks earlier, and it reminded me about an article I read as well the other day about how walks in nature have been shown to. I mean, it's not news to anyone, I suppose. everyone knows that walking in nature does you good, but there is like studies, proper studies that have shown that it can really benefit our attention span
Okay.
specifically, and they were effectively talking about, they're not sure about the reasons why it can benefit the brain, but they've done some studies with participants where they did different walks in nature at different intervals, and then they tested, like they did cognitive function tests, and it showed that like the brain was able to kind of enter a state of relaxation after the walk, and when the brain was engaged as well in a cognitive task, they were able to spike higher and perform better than they did before the walk, effectively. So it shows a big difference in brain performance, effectively, and restoring attention for people. And what I thought was interesting is that in that article they also referenced the a theory called attention restoration theory by Rachel and Stephen Kaplan, which was first established in the 1980s, which said that effectively our attention is a finite resource,
Yeah.
and which is being used all the time, and especially today because we live in a very highly stimulated environment, and being in nature can kind of bring us back down to a more baseline level that can help us do better when we need to enter that state again of increased attention.
Interesting. Yeah. Also, self-control is another limited resource I've read at least. And so, yeah, the less decisions you have to make, the better. So if you can reduce your number of decisions that you have to make, then you have better self-control when you have, yeah,
Mm.
that need in the future. But yeah, all of these studies basically just say overall, basically you don't need these studies. Just go back to what we were doing 100
Mm.
plus years ago. Um, basically, almost live paleo. Obviously, we got a lot of benefits of healthcare and whatever these days, but we're still basically hunter gatherers,
Mm.
and so you wouldn't go too far wrong health wise. You could get 95% of your optimum health by just living pretty closely to what the your ancestors did.
Mm. Well, but what I find more interesting is that in that study about the walks in nature benefiting us, I wasn't sure if it's some of the arguments they put through about why this is beneficial to us is some of the researchers said that it's because of being in nature, our our visual kind of stimulation comes from the patterns of nature. So the
Right.
shapes which are more curved, which are which includes more fractals and stuff
Yeah.
like that, leaves
Yeah.
and all that, kind of alters the our brain waves effectively. But they were not convinced that this is the only thing, for example, because they were also saying it's hard to know if it's that, just the visual input, or if it's also, for example, moving, because you're not just sitting in a place, you're actively moving, for example. So it's exercising your body at the same time, or it's also part of um, having a change in the quality of air you're breathing rather than the indoors air you're breathing,
Yeah.
or if it's maybe a combination of all these
Yeah.
things that is making all that. So
Sunlight,
we cannot
sunlight
like,
as well. Sunlight and
yeah. Oh, and of course, yeah.
um, yeah. Also, I've been looking. I know at least one study has shown that looking long distance can help your stress levels. So, and if you have less stress, then presumably your focus is probably a bit better. And yeah, nature allows us to escape the bubble, as it were, of our own minds or our immediate vicinities with our
Mm,
screens or whatever, or our immediate family members who may be annoying us. So getting out in nature can sort of liberate us to some extent, and that's reflected in
mm.
the visual field of being able to view for long distances.
I definitely think there's a basis in that. Like, if you think about it, like the longest distance we see these days is literally from where we're sitting to like our arm's length to a screen, or to the wall of our room, which is like a couple of meters away, let's say, most times.
Yeah.
And we're definitely not designed to be literally seeing things, literally all of our inputs to be close range. As you said, we were designed to be out in nature and foraging and hunting and gathering, and this is what this brain was designed for. And now we're just stuck in like squares
Yeah, I wouldn't be
all
surprised.
the time.
We're trapped
Yeah.
in that way. We're imprisoned. Maybe it's our imprisonment we put on, but we are imprisoned to some extent. Um, but yeah, like I went to Sardinia last year, to one of the villages where people lived a really long time, one of the blue zones, um, and in the Airbnb I stayed in, when you open the window or the shutters in the morning, you could
Mm.
just see forever. And these old guys that I met, they would just walk maybe 30 meters from their house, or at least one of the guys' houses, and they could sit on this bench or this stone thing, and they would have the same view across to the next mountain, which was God knows how many miles away. Um,
Mm.
I guess maybe sometimes it was almost a bit hard to see because it was so far away. But yeah, and I reckon like you could measure how people's quality of life, health, and mental health pretty closely by how much time they spend. Yeah, do a like formula, like how far they look and for how long they look for that distance.
Mm.
You could probably get really, really close to guessing people's quality of life from just that stat, I would say.
Mm. I think that definitely makes sense, and it shows how much living this kind of lifestyle improved the quality of life of people of Sardinia in this case.
Yeah, it's not something which was picked up on any of the blue zone studies that I've come across, but I think that is a factor. But and there
Mm.
are studies, or at least one study, which has shown that looking at long distance can reduce stress. It probably ties into a lot of psychologists and neuroscientists talk about floodlight consciousness and spotlight consciousness. So spotlight consciousness is like a spotlight on a stage. You're just really focused in on one thing,
Mm.
one task you're doing, one person you're angry at, one thought that you don't like in your head. And then floodlight consciousness is the relaxation of that tension, and then the awareness that comes from that, the natural awareness that is there when you don't put any deliberate focus in any direction. Um, and that's often tied to being less stressed. And
Mm.
I think the
And,
word
and I think,
attention, etymologically,
yeah.
sorry, I think the word attention means to stretch. And so
Mm.
when we relax our attention, then we also go back out again. So we relax back into ourselves, and then we can be relaxed, and when we can actually experience things in a truer way, as it were.
Mm. And it does seem like our lifestyle, with how we use technology and social media, and we're at work if we don't do that, we're always in a state of spotlight consciousness on every single thing that we have to kind of look
Yeah,
out for,
and
and
it's
we
a good
never
tool,
enter this
but
sort of
it's like
floodlight
using a hammer.
consciousness.
It's like using a hammer for every problem. Like and we can't not use it. Almost, we're so used to using spotlight consciousness that it feels weird to relax out of it. Almost, it's we're just so
I
it's
don't
like
think a
running
lot
off
of
a
people
treadmill.
know how to anymore.
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing is, often people's methods of relaxing or getting out of spotlight consciousness involve a trying and attention, a
Yeah.
will to try and get out of it, a spotlight consciousness of focus on how to get out of spotlight consciousness, which probably generally doesn't work.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. And
Which is basically why all the religions and meditations and whatever teach to surrender. in whatever way that means to you. But yeah, I expect a lot of that probably does come down to, on the neuroscience level, just giving up
Mm.
the egoic trying.
Yeah, I
Because
think
almost you
it's
can't do it. That's why there's a phrase like, "Oh, it's God's grace. It's given to you. You can't take it." It's that's the thing that we don't get, especially a lot of people who are atheists. They can't. They really struggle to get this because they don't have that sort of grounding in those teachings, which you might say are rubbish, but in a way they map onto reality closer than how a lot of people run their lives.
Mm.
Because peace
Yeah.
is something we are graced with. It's not something we try and get, or we can try and get it, but usually that doesn't actually end up giving us peace.
Mm. It's as you said, it's difficult to receive something without reaching out to get it, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, we're so inclined to be always reaching.
That's the thing. We're almost trained to always reach out. Exactly,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. Whereas that
Mm.
works in the physical world, but it doesn't work so much in the mental world.
Mm. I struggle with that myself to kind of reach that level of kind of in my everyday life, the state of flooded consciousness. But I do find that for me, at least, like being in nature, and especially like one of these sunny days in the middle of winter, when I go out, I find that for me, I do enter that state of like flooded consciousness when I'm just relaxed and taking in my surroundings and enjoying the sun and being present and relaxed, but without being focused.
Yeah,
But I don't know if that works for everyone, for example, because I'm not sure that that work for everyone. That might not work for everyone. Like someone else might need to um, do a random activity to still enter that state of um, flood attention.
yeah. I guess
Maybe.
it's finding out what works for you. But yeah, I guess going outside if you're really stressed might not help too much because you can't. You go outside to escape your problems, but your problems are still there because they're within you, and so they're like your shadow. They're walking with you wherever you go. So although these sort of things like going outside can help, it's you do that they're yeah they are helpful, but I don't think they're the solution. They're like a
Mm,
sticking plaster, as it were, a temporary thing. So when we can relax a bit, so we can then go back and work the next day. As we were saying, like yeah, they're all like a soothing thing, not much different, maybe than watching TV to relax, and so then you can live your life and can carry on with it. Like obviously, there's a lot of health benefits of being in nature, but I would say ultimately it is a spiritual or mental problem, however way you look at it, and you need to actually face that, and that's within yourself. You need to try and get that right without trying,
mm,
and that's otherwise, yeah, things just don't work.
mm. Yeah, true. And I don't have anything to add on that, actually. That was my mind went blank. I actually thought of something else that I was also thinking the other day about because we talk a lot about AI, but what I haven't seen at all is robots working together. Have you seen robots working together at all? Like all these
Uh,
AI robots, it's always one robot. It's always one robot doing things on its own. Well, you've never seen
production
any robots doing
production
things
lines
together.
and Tesla doing production lines, but yeah, you are
But
right.
but
I have
but it's
not
not.
not
But it's
seen.
usually yeah. But it's not like doing the same thing. A production
Yeah,
line is usually one robot doing one thing, one robot doing another thing, and it just
yeah.
moves. It's
No, I
not
haven't
robots
seen.
doing
No.
like moving something together, doing one task at the same time. I never see that with AI and with new AI robots. And I was thinking that I was reading the other day about this new advancement where they they're doing this research in UCLA where they've managed to program some AI robotic arms to perform a task all together on something without like colliding with each other or like pushing against each other and all that. And I was thinking that is probably one of the most important things for the future that we kind of have to start working now, because if more and more robots start coming out for the general public and general use, it's very important that they can actually be programmed to actually interact with each other as well and do something together if needed, because otherwise you could have a lot of other issues that come from that.
Hmm. So if you have like if you have two Optimus robots, say as an example,
Yeah,
when working together, or are you saying it might be a problem if your Optimus robot doesn't get along with my Optimus robot?
potentially, probably in both those scenarios, I would think. Like, what if someone is walking outside with their Optimus robot, and then let's say something happens to you, and your robot is programmed to help you, for example, but someone else's robot is also implicated, like someone else is also implicated in something that happened to you, and they're helping them, and one is trying to help you, the other one is trying to help the other guy, and they're interfering with each other instead, then both of you are dead in the end, let's say, in a car crash or something.
Yeah, I guess that's the tension between, or going to be the tension between, say, for instance, everyone having their own AI helper doing things that just to serve that individual, versus the benefit of having all AI helpers plugged into one centralized database, uh, I don't know, centralized system, and then they will be able to talk to each other like electric cars. If they work really efficiently in the future, will like every car will be electric on certain roads at least, and they'll be able to go super fast speeds because everyone will know exactly where each other is, and so rather than separate cars, it will be like one big, like cells in one body, um, and but then that takes away the autonomy because then you can't have individual AIs or individual humans driving their own car on that system, or at least that would cause a lot of problems if that is allowed to be the case. And so the same thing with if you had an Optimus robot just to serve you, has no, it doesn't need to obey the centralized command, as it were, which would be good for libertarianism, but could cause problems. And that would be a tension, I would imagine.
It's a little bit like the movie I, Robot, with Will Smith, where all the robots and stuff were controlled by one central um, computer, effectively, and there was no autonomy, and all the vehicles were, as you described in that kind of movie, they were all moving autonomously, and everything else no one drove and stuff like that. And I think the plan with Tesla cars was similar, to have all the Tesla cars being able to interact with each other and know the location of each other and be able to coordinate if necessary on the roads in the future. So it's the problem is if something happens to the central computer, what happens?
Yeah, well, it's the risk. There's a lot of benefit, but there's a risk.
Yeah, because you don't want all Teslas driving off the cliff at the same time if something happens.
Yeah. Well, I was going to. I won't mention what. No, I won't mention it because I might spoil it. Show. I might spoil. I was going to mention something on Foundation, but
Oh,
yeah,
don't
right.
spoil the Foundation yet. Don't spoil the Foundation. We haven't finished watching it. No one has finished watching it, John, yet. Don't.
Oh, okay, I'll wait till next week when it's.
We will go
it's all out.
back to Foundation once it's finished.
Not long.
Not long. I'm waiting for it to finish, and we can all watch it. I'm sure our viewers as well would have watched it when it's finished as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see though, one way or another. I love Foundation.
Yeah, it's a good season. I'll give you that.
Oh, it's all I loved every season of Foundation. It's just the way that I'll say it again and again. It does things that no other show does with like storytelling and the way the actors are being reused again and again at different times and at different timelines, and the progression of the story is just very very interesting.
Mm.
And obviously the nice production design and stuff.
Yeah, it's got ticks a lot of
The,
boxes.
the, 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 yeah, go
Unless
on.
you're a reader of Foundation, which I'm told, then it's not quite up to
I
standard.
was going to mention the same thing. People that said that they've read Foundation, they are very disappointed with the show. But from my understanding, it's a very, very complex series of books. So I can imagine that it had to be kind of dubbed down for wider consumption and wider audiences, and obviously to make the story easier to adapt for TV. So that's with every book, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's I found the same thing with the Wheel of Time now, for example, a series on Amazon Prime, where it's in total a series of 13 books, and they've now done 3 or 4 seasons, I think, of it. And I'm in the process now of reading the first book because they've cancelled the series now. So I thought, oh, if
Right.
you're canceling the series, I'm done with you. I'm just gonna go and read the books because I want to know what happens in this story.
Yeah.
And the book is extremely different than than the first season of the show.
How do you find
But
it
I can
reading
understand
after?
why a lot of it.
Oh, okay. You get it.
Yeah, I mean, I I I actually like it because I now understand there was a lot of things missing. And if I had read the book first, I'd be like, yeah, the first season was atrocious in many ways
Mm.
because it doesn't set up a good enough foundation for neither the characters nor the world building. But at the same time, I understand that it's hard to adapt such a book that does so much world building, like high fantasy. It's considered high
Mm.
fantasy almost effectively, where there's so much world building and
So
so
do you
many
think
different
you
characters.
say it's hard, but would you actually say it's like they actually did a bad job? Because you could say it's hard to adapt from a book, but you could also appreciate that the TV series is one of the best ever TV series. I haven't watched Wheel of Time, but you could say in terms of a TV medium, they did the absolute best that a TV series can do, and so in a way,
I
it
wouldn't say they did. Yeah, I can see what you mean, and I wouldn't say they did the absolute best either.
right.
The
Okay.
cast was excellent. The actors were excellent portrayals of the characters as you imagined them in the book, but the TV series could have done things like it would have taken you like a few seconds to give some more exposition, some key exposition in some areas that would have really helped you get that kind of bigger picture of things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I would be
that's what I
intrigued to
think.
read the Foundation books because I can't really imagine like how it could actually be done better because it is like a stellar TV series. Excuse the pun.
It is a
Like
sterile TV series, in my opinion, as
like
well.
in terms of visuals, actors, storyline, details, like and it's relatively high fantasy in terms of the details. Um, yeah, like I obviously if you had more time, which books do, then you could add in more. But there's also the benefit of going a little bit quicker in terms of it creates more exciting moments rather than less exciting moments. Um, or in terms of it's more action and it still has time for downtime, but not too much time that you get bored. Which
Mm,
with our modern attention spans is a thing, and you could argue that although there's a virtue to telling a slow story, an art to that. There's also benefit in having a end product which is quite it get a lot of action in it as well and not too much downtime.
mm. No, I agree. It's often the things that are omitted I find that make people upset. Like
Yeah,
I was upset in the Lord of the Rings. I'll tell you that because I've read the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, and I still consider the movie to be one of the best movie adaptations of a book. Like, the movie has touched on the true pulse of the book so well that I consider it one of the best movie adaptations on a book. But saying that, I was extremely upset when the whole segment of Tom Bombadil was cut out from the movie. I understand that it didn't really forward the story,
Yeah.
but I was still extremely upset because it was one of my favorite sections.
But yeah, I get that. But I would feel it would maybe jar. It
Yeah.
would just stick out like a sore thumb because it's like interesting event, but like it doesn't really map onto anything else in the story.
It doesn't. You're truly right.
And so like people would be expecting later in the movie or in number 2 or 3 for them to pay.
It's going to come back somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas it seems like maybe Tolkien just put I don't know, but put Tom Bombadil in for his own reasons of wanting to give voice to something within himself rather than actually him being an important part of the story. Tom Bombadil.
No, but it was such an enjoyable segment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and the like, there's Tom Bombadil's song and whatever. I think it's almost like I don't know if he actually said this, but whether it was like he wrote the song maybe just as something he wrote separate to Lord of the Rings or before Lord of the Rings, and then he thought, oh, maybe that would be, maybe I'll add it in as a character here, and so yeah, but I see why they didn't include it in the in the series. But they've put him in the Hobbit, not the Hobbit, the Rings of Power.
Rings of Power. I did. Yeah, it wasn't the full Tom Bombadil I expected to say, but you know, it was something. They gave us a little nugget for all of us upset people who were asking for Tom Bombadil.
Well, all those people are probably are the people who hated Rings of Power.
Yeah, these people are. Yeah, I would see why they hated it again, because yeah, it's people would say that it's a far cry from what Tolkien intended. So, but I still enjoy it. I still enjoy Rings of Power very much, especially the second season. If I'm honest with you, I enjoyed that so much.
Giving a go. Like, it's not perfect, of course, but it's like something to watch. Like, it's worth watching if you have nothing else on. It's, it will entertain me. But yeah, there are probably better things to watch.
But yeah, these kind of things are things that, you know, omitting things make people really upset. I was upset for that, for example. So I can imagine if there was a lot of big segments from Foundation that were omitted just to make sure that the story can move at the right pace and everything, it might have made people very upset for that as well. But that's I don't have writing. Yeah, go on.
It's nice having the TV show for people who got less time, who like the visuals, who like having an actor bring that to life. And then it's also nice to then have the option to choose to read a book and have all the benefits that come with that. And it's also nice to have the book be different to the TV series, because then you can experience it in 2 ways. You can actually experience both if you have the time to do both.
I believe in that because I am one of these people that does that with The Wheel of Time now. I've watched the series, I liked it, and I want to know more about the universe and the world. So I'm very happy to go over all the little details about that world of The Wheel of Time now. So, you know, that's what I'm doing.
About The Wheel of Time, perhaps we should wrap up.
Yeah, that's a nice, smooth transition.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think we can wrap up for today.
Brilliant.
And return next time.